Of course, right before we record, you tell me you do the best impression.
It's what I do.
What's up, guys? This is the Bodacious Rant with Burn and Rye. How are you, dude?
I'm good, man. I'm pretty damn good today, man. I mean, there are a lot of things I can complain about, but you know, after this Book of Boba Fett episode, I'm not complaining. The only thing I'm complaining about is just Boba Fett. Boba Fett, where?
I'm still complaining about it just because okay, the last two episodes were great. Okay, guys, if you haven't guessed it, we're talking about Book of Boba Fett, episode 6 now. Mm-hmm. So we have one more, right, for the season?
One more.
Fantastic. The last two episodes haven't even really been about Boba Fett. So.
Not at all.
And again, that's why I'm going to give this, as a Book of Boba Fett rating, I'm giving it a 2 out of 5, just because it has nothing to do with Boba Fett. However, my honest ranting rating is that of like a 4 out of 5 for sure. It's a very mixed thing. I know it's a little confusing, just because this is the one thing, and people are starting to catch on this week. I was looking at a lot of articles and stuff today, and it's like, how do you have the show's main protagonist not even be around in these two episodes? Completely hijacked by, the Mandalorian. And I completely agree with that. I think that's such horse shit. Given I didn't like this, I wasn't in love with this show, like as you know, Bern, and as everybody knows. Mm-hmm. But I wasn't happy with it because I expected them to improve upon it. Like, okay, let's see where it goes. And actually the episode right before these two, I thought was pretty solid, where Boba Fett's he met up with Fennec Shand. We finally see him kind of, catching up to the Mandalorian, like where he premiered. Mm-hmm. But now we get none of that, and it's like, again, this show could have gone a completely different direction to feel just as epic. However, there were some great surprises in this that's kind of opening it up for, a couple other Star Wars series for the most part. So we'll talk about that in our spoiler session, but anyways, what did you think of this, Bern?
I mean, I echo a lot of your sentiments. We're pretty much on the same page with everything here. I know we've been doing it for like the last few episodes, and I don't really like to give individual ratings for episode series. But we've been doing it up to this point, so it's like if I were to put a number on this one, I would also give it a 4 out of 5. Also, I think these last two episodes in particular have been some of the best Star Wars content that we've gotten in the last few years. I think they're just running on all cylinders. Filoni, Favreau, they seem to have a real big handle on Mando, especially.
Not just Mando, that's it right now.
But Mando and the world building as a whole, how they're not expanding on the lore of Star Wars, but it's more like adding the details, filling a lot of gaps in, because there's such a big stretch of time in between the end of Return of the Jedi and of course The Force Awakens. There's a 30-year gap, so there's a lot of room to play with there. And Filoni is bringing all his toys with him, and I think we're all the better for it to see these things happen in live action. So I'm willing to forgive the show for that reason. Although, like you said, as a Boba Fett show, it's been very lacking so far. It seems like just when you start getting to really like the guy and start rooting for him and his storyline, it seems to undercut itself by either, writing him poorly or just not writing him at all. So yeah, that's kind of the thing where I'm at. This is content that I'm loving, but also at the same time in the back of my head, it's like, man, I was promised a Boba Fett show, and it hasn't really delivered too much on that. But regardless of the fact, I've been enjoying these last couple of episodes so much.
Yeah, and last thing before we get into the spoilers, just a last little piece of venting for me is that it low-key does make me worry about the other standalone series besides Mandalorian, because it's okay, Boba Fett, given, in my opinion, he's been a completely overrated character for decades, ever since his debut in Empire Strikes Back. Because looking really at those movies, he didn't do shit. He just caught Han Solo. Technically not really. It was Darth Vader who got him. And then in Return of the Jedi, he got fucking
knocked into the Sarlacc pit.
punched in. Yeah, he got punched. He essentially got punched into a Sarlacc pit, hitting his jetpack and flew in there. But
Right.
I remember I had one guy recently come into my store, and he's like, I've been a Boba Fett fan for years. He is the best thing about Star Wars. And he didn't have anybody to answer to. And I was almost told him, like, you realize he was working for Jabba the Hutt, right? Like, he chose to do that. So there is no necessarily he didn't have anybody to answer to. He answered to Jabba, but then again, I got super hyped from him from season 2, as you know, just because his episode was great. More of like what he contributed to The Mandalorian was great, and then the last couple episodes that he was in was awesome. And so I was hyped for this show. And yeah, it's like they've dropped the ball on the character Boba Fett itself. Like, you guys hyped him up just to make him laughable for the most part. To the point where it's like, why even have a show with him if you're going to let this happen to a character like from The Mandalorian? And it's like, so we have Boba Fett. We have Ahsoka Tano. We have a couple other characters coming out from this series that are like spin-offs. It's like, Ahsoka, yeah, you can have fun that she's a Jedi, but it's like, how do we know they're not going to fuck that up too? You know what I mean? It just could lead to it's a very like murky waters we're sailing through now with this being the first like solo series outside of Mandalorian, and I'm definitely worried. I'm like, can you guys do this, or is it all gonna be Mandalorian for you? Because that's not good if it is. So yeah, I just want to put that out.
No, I think that's a pretty valid concern. I mean, all things considered, like you said, this is the first show that's separate from Mandalorian, or at least we thought it was for the most part. And we do have more Star Wars Disney Plus content coming out, with the Obi-Wan series, Ahsoka, Andor, and I'm sure a bunch of other shows that they're going to be doing. So there is that fear, where they're like, what's going to happen in the Obi-Wan show? Does that get taken over by someone else, or does his story get lost in the ever expanding universe that they keep adding things into and fleshing things out? Is Ahsoka going to be second fiddle in her own show? I think one of the bigger concern for me is probably the pacing issues that we've been seeing. It's starting to become a little bit of a trend for the Disney Plus series. Not all of them, mind you, but this episode, this series, the Book of Boba Fett. We just came off of Hawkeye, where it felt very much the same, where it felt like it wasn't really getting going until the ending. Like there was a lot of things where the writing just kind of didn't really do the show as a whole a service, because it felt like it dragged its feet along the way. So yeah, I mean, I think I want to say that maybe they're just finding their footing with this TV format, something that they haven't really done before up to this point. And maybe, COVID had a lot to do with, the production and all that stuff with these shows. So I think it remains to be seen, but I do echo your concern where it's like, okay, hopefully this is more so just sort of like, a stumbling and, when you're starting to get going, and maybe they'll find their footing later on, as opposed to the worry of it being the constant trend of, maybe these shows aren't the greatest.
Hope so. I'm kind of hoping we get a season 2 of Boba Fett just to redeem this season. Just that's literally all I want. Because if not, I hate to say if Robert Rodriguez is still attached to it, I'm not looking forward. I probably won't even watch it. I'll wait till it's all done and binge it just to be like, let me see if this is worth it. But let's get started with the spoilers, shall we?
Yeah, I'm ready to dive right into it.
Sweet. Everybody, if you haven't seen this episode, it did just drop. So, watch it when you get a chance. It is definitely, again, like Burns said, I agree with him. It is one of the best episodes of anything Star Wars, even piece of Star Wars at all. Episode, movie, whatever. It was great. So check it out when you get a chance. Let's get started with I didn't think they were actually going to do it, but Mandalorian actually going to see Grogu on, I forgot what planet they were on. I don't even think they said it.
I forget the name of the planet. Yeah.
But it was very reminiscent of like of Yavin 4, Endor, kind of like foresty area.
A little bit Naboo almost, like the more foresty areas of that also.
Almost. I'm glad he's really embraced the N1 starfighter, just kind of cruising through the galaxy with that. And R2 just kind of walks him over somewhere. They make a bench, and he's like, "Where's Skywalker?"
And he just shuts himself down. Like, all right, come over here.
And Din is just kind of like, "All right, right, whatever, I'll wait. But I really like this piece of like Luke training Grogu. It's a very much of a flip of what
Yoda.
Yoda training him, and I was digging it, man. It was great, and I think they finally got the whole
the deep fake.
Yeah, the deep fake was way better than Amendment.
Yeah, they nailed it.
Finale.
I mean, with his appearance in the last episode of season 2 of Mando, that was a lot of people's complaints. They really loved the fact that Luke was back, but just the uncanny valley of that face was a little bit off-putting to a lot of people. And in fact, what they did is they hired someone who has a history of VFX.
Oh, so they did do that.
They hired that guy that did the deepfake on YouTube. This visual effects artist, and I mean, we get to see like how that paid off in this episode, because there were times where it was just unreal. Like, oh my god, like that's actually young Mark Hamill sitting there talking. There were a few moments. I think it was mainly when he's talking that's kind of like, oh, that's like a little bit rough. But I think at this point it's just that the technology is not completely there. But the fact that we see, if you just watch the jump from the end of season 2 to here, it's like night and day. It's so realistic.
Yeah. The only time I really thought it was like, ooh, questionable, when him and Ahsoka are talking on the river watching Grogu train.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get to that in a second. But Din, instead of being greeted by Luke and Grogu, was dealt with Ahsoka Tano, and it's like, oh shit, you're back for this. That's kind of cool. She didn't do anything, mind you, but she did kind of tell him straight up, like, listen, Grogu's in a point right now where you visiting him is gonna make or break him, and it's like, is this more for you or more for him? And that's when Din realized, like, all right, fine, we'll just give him my gift for him. So it was a little hard to see that, like, dude, he did come all this way, but it's a double-sided coin with that. Like, yes, I do want him to see Grogu and have that moment, but at the same time, it's like, if he does become a Jedi, this is basically putting him down the Sith path, essentially, like just Darth Vader 2.0. So I kind of got both sides of that argument. It was still just, goddamn, it was sad. I did like I liked how also Ahsoka and Luke, when they were talking, I'm glad she did comment like, you're just like your father.
Yeah.
Like when you were his age, when you were his age, and he's like, what should I do? And she's like, I'm sure you'll know, but I really like that. She's like, I'm a friend of the family. And it's like, oh, good. So we do acknowledge that, she knew Darth Vader at that point, because I didn't know how much they were going to actually like talk about it, but I'm glad this episode we got a little bit more of that. Like, she knew who Luke was and went to go see them and stuff. So I was like, yes, thank you.
Yeah, as a big fan of the Clone Wars animated series, all of this was just absolutely great. Having Ahsoka and Luke interact with each other was something I only ever dreamed of. Like, I was like, oh, okay, this is probably never gonna happen. And people speculate, like, oh, I wonder if they ever met each other or if they knew of each other. Just because she had such a close bond with his dad. It's like, oh, man, like, there's generations of people, like meeting each other. It's pretty awesome. She's basically his like aunt. so that was all really cool. I really love this section. Them building the little temple there, like all those little like spider bots was really nice. The temple that we presume is the one that gets destroyed by Kylo when he turns in a few years' time. All this stuff was great. The training with Grogu was really cool. I really liked seeing him actually like do something other than waddle around. I really liked that moment in particular where him and Luke are walking and he's kind of like force tugging him along because he can't keep up with his little feet. That was just adorable. And him using the force, the first thing he wants to do is eat that frog. Very much in character.
Kind of just showed him like, there's plenty of frogs, you'll be fine. And then seeing Grogu hop around the rocks was cool, just because like, okay, he is strong with the Force too, and Luke and I'm glad Luke, as much as he doesn't want him to be attached to stuff, he does acknowledge like, I don't want to take him away from his potential father here, but at the same time, you got to be willing to let go. And it's like, but technically, Luke, you never let go. You still like love your sister and everything.
And
so
Han,
like,
and yeah.
A little hypocritical of him to be like that, but at the same time, he is trying to train new, a generation of Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
So that and then real quick, but that this whole thing is really like fucking with me because it's like, okay, well, we'll talk about it in a second. What were you gonna say? I'll come back to
No,
that.
I was just gonna say that I think it's probably a little bit of a learning curve, right? Like Grogu is potentially his first apprentice, and he's really he kind of just like learned how to be a Jedi, quote unquote, very very late on in life, and he didn't even finish his training with Yoda. Presumably, he underwent some more training in between Empire and Return of the Jedi. But this is him really kind of learning as he goes too. So I think falling back onto those like old archaic Jedi ways is a natural like stumbling block for him. I'm curious to see like if they expand upon that and see how like his academy develops and if it actually does go the way of the old Jedi, because that would make a lot of sense for why it fell, other than what happened with Kylo, just sort of, not knowing the history of the Jedi and repeating its mistakes. That's makes it a little bit more tragic if that's a thing where he was just kind of following the scripts because he didn't have anyone else to teach him otherwise. That, hey, maybe all of these teachings aren't exactly like should be taken like, literate, because that's what led to the Jedi falling. And that's kind of like what we get the idea of in The Last Jedi with that moment with him and Yoda, where he's telling him like, hey, those are just books, they're not the greatest things in the world.
Yeah, like, oh, were they good reads? It's like, well, no. It's like, well, there we go. Then I don't care. Like, that's not the point. You don't worry about the books. You keep going. But another great surprise of this episode was return of Timothy Oliphant's character, Cobb Vanth.
Yeah.
Fine, being the marshal of Mos Pelgo. And
Freetown now.
Yeah, now it's called Freetown, which I really did like. But in the beginning, the very beginning, where those spice guys of the Pikes were just kind of dealing or something, or just going over their stuff, and he's like, get out. I love that quick draw he does. Just takes out 3 of them. He's like, don't think about it. Again, I love he's channeling his Raylan Givens.
Oh, it's straight up Raylan in this character, and it works.
It's so great, and he's coming back for another series too. So I'm excited, like another like a Justified spin-off.
Oh yeah,
so
like a miniseries.
Yeah, I'm fucking excited.
Yeah, me too.
And he says, "Now leave it. That's your pain. Like that's your fine for trying to do business out here." And he realized it's spice, and I think his performance was the best in this show. I think the best since I've seen. Shit, I can't remember the last time I saw this good of acting in somebody, like in Star Wars in general, just because the look on his face is like, fuck, this is bad. Like, kicks the spice over. And then when Din goes back to Tatooine, Fennec is saying we need more muscle, we need a little more, like, we have muscle, but we need more soldiers to help us out. And that's when he goes to see Cobb, like, hey, listen, you and the people helped kill a dragon. Can you help us out with this? And again, being a Freetown, you can tell they're just like, nah, we don't want anything like that. Like this he kind of already has a vibe. Like this already sounds a little dirty. Like this is not worth it. But,
yeah, kind of like we just got out of certain conflict, and then now you want us to, inject ourselves into the middle of basically a crime war. With this Boba Fett that they don't even know too much about. So them. Him asking them to come in and help out and intervene is a pretty big ask. So I really liked how, when Mando's giving his pitch, he's just kind of like, dude, like, there's no easy way for me to ask for a favor like this. Like, I'm asking you and your people to put their life on the line for someone you don't even know.
And, Cobb kind of like, you get the vibe he initially like turns him down or like, I got to think about it kind of thing. And this was the craziest part of this episode. Just when he's like, I got a guy that like I need to talk to you guys like tonight. We need to figure out if we're in this or not, because even though they kept saying this is Freetown, that's yours is a city problem. Din and Cobb both like pointed like know that it's starting at like Din knows it's like it starts in the city, but you're all part of the same planet. It's gonna spread to you guys too.
The Pikes eventually knew that. Yeah, they're gonna go everywhere they want.
Yeah, Cobb already knew that, so that's why he's like, we need to figure this out, like, tonight. We're making a decision, and that's when we get this shot of this character in black coming in the haze, the heat waves, and it's like, I remember watching, like, what the fuck? who is this guy? And as he gets closer, I'm like, no fucking way, really? And just telling everybody, go back and like go inside. And his, God bless his deputy, but dumbass deputy, just, it's only one guy. Like, I'll help you. He's like, go inside. I don't want you out here. And as he gets closer, if you're a Star Wars fan, like me, when I finally finished Clone Wars, and if I hadn't finished Clone Wars, plenty of this shit would be so new to me. Like, I'd be like, who the fuck is this guy? But having finally watched it all a couple of years ago, I'm like, no way! This is him! He's here! And again, say it all with me. Cad Bane makes his live-action debut, and he looks awesome.
Scary. So scary.
Dude, I think alongside Bo-Katan and Ahsoka Tano, best live-action, look. Those are the top 3 that they've adapted for the shows, and they look amazing. Just, you could tell that's all old-school makeup, prosthetics on them. He's got the hat, everything. Just, the teeth looked horrifying when he was talking. Just how he's saying, like, you should stay out of this. We'll pay you double than what Fett's gonna pay you. And Cobb is like, I didn't get your. He keeps asking for his name,
and he doesn't give it.
He doesn't want to give it, and that's when he's like, "Holy shit, this is bad." And when he's about to draw, like saying, tell your people that Tatooine's closed for business, he's like, "I'm not doing that." Shows his gun. That was the first time I've seen Cobb like
afraid,
legitimately scared.
Yeah.
The
setup
and his deputy's put in danger too. Like, so he's like worrying about both. Like, fuck, this is why I didn't want anybody out here. Oh my god, just it was so badass. Just when he shot Cobb, and then shot that guy like 3-4 times. Just looks back.
He killed that other guy dead.
Oh, that guy's definitely dead. Just. Oh, but again, dude, it was such goosebumps, like, talking about it, because it was just such a great scene, like, almost kind of like in Tombstone, where Johnny Ringo, like, is, like, thinks he's talking to
Wyatt.
Wyatt.
But then Doc Holliday
comes out just, I'm your Huckleberry. Like, that was exactly this scene, and it just, oh my god, it was so great. I can't praise it enough.
This whole sequence was incredible, and I think it's really shown how far Dave Filoni has come as a director. Like, he directed the first episode of season 1 of Mando, which was cool, and then he directed that horrible episode with Tatooine that I didn't like. But then in season 2, he directed the Jedi, the one with Ahsoka introducing, and that episode is fantastic. So him coming back here and now introducing or reintroducing to people for the first time in live action another character from his Clone Wars series, Cad Bane. He did him just as much justice as he did to Ahsoka, where, as you said, like, the minute like the mood just changes in the scene where you like the winds, the wind chimes are moving and you see the figure out in the distance and the tension is building, and how just like, again, Timothy Olyphant sold it so well, where he has that look of fear in his eyes. And we already got the setup from the beginning of this episode where he quick draws those three guys Pikes in the beginning. So we know, like, he's a good draw. We know that we've seen him; he can handle himself. So for him to be afraid and for him to like come across, Cad Bane, it's like, oh no, like immediately you're hyped that Cad Bane is in live action, but then you're like, is he gonna kill Cobb right now? Like, is this how he's gonna be introduced to the show? And we almost get to that point. I think Cobb is still alive. That other guy certainly isn't. But yeah, this whole sequence is just amazing. I couldn't have asked for a better introduction for Cad Bane into the live action than this.
And I would take it as a compliment if I were Cobb, because Cad Bane is such a big deal when it comes to like the criminal underworld of Star Wars and assassins and bounty hunters. So it's like, if the Syndicate sent him after you, not only because they want to end you quick, but it's like they know you're a big deal, or like they know you're a force to be reckoned with. So I thought I was thinking about it after. I'm like, oh my god, they're either really pissed or they're really scared too, because it's like they they just sent this big bad after him just to be like, put him down now.
They sent probably the most ruthless bounty hunter. I know, Boba supposedly has that reputation about him, but anybody who's seen, all of Star Wars stuff, like you said, the movies and the Clone Wars included, Cad Bane probably takes the cake for the most, like, evil of the bounty hunters. He's just ruthless.
Yeah, exactly. And then we saw that the Pikes went to that Cantina Mos Espa that's ran by Jennifer Beals' character, blows that up just to send a message to Boba, like, stop fucking with us. This is a great little, like, collection of scenes, like just Cobb Vanth and going after her, because it's very reminiscent of like a mafia movie or something. Kind of reminded me of like Zero Dark 30 and The Godfather, where they're just sending messages like, stop doing this. Like, this is the reason why we're here. And then the very end was a bit of a bittersweet one where, we see the little, Luke finally offers Grogu the little chainmail. And actually, I like the sound design for that, because it made it sound like it had some weight to it. Just because, being Beskar and stuff. So I liked that. And as Grogu was like, you could tell in his face, he's like, oh, okay. And he's like, before you do, here's another thing I have to offer you. And it was Yoda's lightsaber. And I was like, oh, shit. I know where this is going. And he says, you have to choose one. Because if you choose the chainmail, you go back to the Mandalorian and you could live your life however you want. Or you join me and be my first student. I'll make you a great Jedi. Which, again, I thought was a little like, almost like a douchey answer. Because it's like, Luke, yes, I know you took out Darth Vader and stuff like that, your father. But you're nowhere near that great, okay? Let's tone it down a little bit with that hubris.
So we don't know if you're a great teacher yet, bro.
I mean, we kind of know he isn't. Like, if the sequel trilogy's canon, then it's like, you fucked up. So there's that to consider.
Well, I mean, it is canon.
Okay, so I really wish it was. I wish they could kind of
you and a lot of other people
rewrite. I just because as much as I love Last Jedi, I wish they could redo it, but
it's not happening.
That's the thing. I'm like, no, I know it's not gonna happen. But that's the thing is like, this is a big potential plot hole where it's like, if Grogu does stay with Luke, you expect me to believe that Kylo Ren could take him out. I fucking doubt that. And then because I like how you point out, it's like a little bit of time for you is a lifetime for us. So it's like, you can go with your dad essentially, but he'll die long before you die. So do you really want to live with that pain, kind of? But so I don't know where it'll go. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. In my opinion, I hope he chooses Din and just kind of lives his life as, I don't know what Yoda's species is called, but that kind of Mandalorian where he'll just kind of keep growing and living in the galaxy in his own life. Just because I would hate the alternative that he joins Luke and ends up getting killed off by Kylo, because I think that's stupid as shit, in my opinion. I don't know what you want, but that's just me putting that out there.
I mean, I don't think it would be stupid, but I think it's almost a certainty that he's gonna go with Din. Like, you wouldn't introduce that little bubble, in his new ship, where it's perfect for him to like sit in. They would have introduced that if they're not going to use that. So, and again, there's no reference to him in any of the the sequel trilogies and anything that's come after or during that time. So most likely he's off with Din at that point and probably most likely outlives him. And it's, it goes towards the speculation that the title of the series, The Mandalorian, is not in reference to Din, but in referencing Grogu, like that he is the Mandalorian. This is all like his origin story, which is a theory that I'm a pretty big fan of. It has multiple meanings, that title, but I think that's probably where that series is going to just end. I think it'll end with Grogu as a Mandalorian.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're going to be like a second fiddle to the story, like Boba Fett's been his entire show, at least it's to Grogu for Din, so mas or menos. Anything else that caught your eye that you want to point out before we finish up, Vern?
I mean, no, not that I can think of. I think all of this stuff was really great. Like you said, we're finally getting to see the Pikes make some actual moves, because a lot like the Kingpin and Hawkeye. There's no moves being made and only introduced in like the last episode. But now at least we get to see before the finale that they are having an effect on people and they are actually trying to overtake these different lands of Tatooine. So I think that actually makes them a more interesting villain to actually come up against in the finale. So getting to see them do that was great. Like you said, everything from Cobb getting gunned down to that cantina getting blow up makes them a little bit of a more interesting foe to take down than they have been previously in this series. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing this new team of misfits try to take them down.
Yeah, like I said, hopefully, that's why I want season 2, because we got Black Chrysanthemum, we got Cad Bane, bring in the rest of them, the whole League of Bounty Hunters.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why not? Come on, Favreau, Filoni, everybody, do it. Do your jobs. But besides that, everybody, for those of you stuck around for the spoilers, let us know what you thought. Are you loving it right now? Are you frustrated by what they're doing with Boba? Let us know in the comments. And until next week, we'll see y'all later. What do you say, Bern?
Yeah, everybody, be good, be safe, and we'll see you this time next week for the finale. Hopefully, we have a lot of good things to say. I'm really hoping.
I'm hoping so. I'm gonna try and be as optimistic as possible. But as always, stay bodacious, keep on ranting, and above all, have a good night.
This is the way.